You think you know California. You've seen the postcard, the Golden Gate in morning mist, the palm trees, the freeways, the hills spelling out Hollywwood. You've seen the dream version, but California is not a postcard. It's a contradiction. It is the most populated state in the most powerful country on Earth. Its economy, if it were a nation, would rank among the largest in the world. It contains the lowest point in North America, and within a single day's drive, the highest peak in the contiguous United States. It grows more of America's food than any other state. And it is quietly, urgently running out of water. This documentary is not going to pretend otherwise. We're going to drive through this state the way it actually is, staggering and broken and beautiful and worth every complicated feeling it gives you. Stay with us. Because by the time we're done, you will understand why, after everything, people keep coming back. Before we go anywhere, we need to understand the scale of what we're talking about. California is not a place you can summarize. It is almost 164,000 square miles. Laid over the eastern United States, it would stretch from the Canadian border to Florida. Nearly 39.5 million people live here. That's more than the entire population of Canada. No single racial or ethnic group holds a majority. Latino Californians, Asian American Californians, white Californians, Black Californians. This is a state that has, through history and migration and hard-fought belonging, become something the country's founders could not have predicted, genuinely plural. But the number that explains California more than any other is this one: 282 feet below sea level. That is Badwater Basin in Death Valley, the lowest point in North America. Mount Whitney, visible from a single road in the eastern Sierra, rises 14,505 feet above sea level, the highest point in the contiguous United States, both within the same state. One day's drive apart. That is California in one image, a state of extremes that somehow occupies the same geography, the same government, the same identity. A place where the ground below sea level and the sky above 14,000 feet are both California. Now, let's start from the beginning. In 1848, California was a territory, not a state, not a dream, just land, contested, enormous, mostly unmapped by American hands. Then, on January 24th of that year, a man named James Marshall was inspecting a sawmill on the American River in the Sierra Nevada foothills, and he saw something in the water that didn't belong: gold. What happened next was not a discovery, it was a detonation. Within months, the news had spread beyond California, beyond the United States, across oceans. Ships changed course. Families sold everything. People who had never left their country packed what they could carry and sailed toward a rumor. By 1849, tens of thousands of people were arriving from Mexico, Chile, China, Australia, Europe. This was the gold rush, and it was genuinely global. And here is the version of that story. Most of them didn't get rich. Most found brutal work, crushing disappointment, and a California that was not what the rumor promised. Chinese immigrants in particular faced not just hardship, but legal persecution, discriminatory laws, exclusion, violence. Their labor helped build the railroads that made California accessible, and the recognition they received for it was inadequate at best, monstrous at worst. History has a way of smoothing its own roughest edges. The gold rush is often told as triumph. It was also displacement, exploitation, and the near erasure of the indigenous peoples who had lived on this land for thousands of years before a single fleck of gold changed everything. But the gold rush did one thing that cannot be undone. It made California matter. On September 9th, in 1850, just over 2 years after Marshall's discovery, California became the 31st state of the United States, admitted faster than almost any territory in American history. The speed of it tells you everything about what gold does to the calculation. And then, as if statehood wasn't enough excitement, San Francisco burned 6 times in 18 months. Fire was so common in the early city that it became part of the culture. You build, it burns, you build again. A kind of architectural stubbornness that would define California's relationship with fire right up to the present day. Some things don't change. San Francisco is the city that the atmosphere runs. Fog here is not weather. It is a character. It rolls in through the gate each afternoon like it has somewhere to be, swallows the bridge, and leaves the city in a gray that makes the lights feel warmer than they are. The bridge itself is not red. It's a specific color called international orange, chosen because it's visible in fog and complements the landscape, a detail that tells you something about San Francisco. Even the practical decisions here are aesthetic decisions. The Golden Gate Bridge opened in 1937. It was built in an era before computers, before modern metallurgy, by workers suspended above cold water in high winds. When it opened, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. Today, it carries around 10 million vehicles per year, and it inspires something deeper than admiration. Standing at the center of that bridge, over deep water, with fog closing in on both sides, you feel the audacity of the thing, that people decided to try, that it held. San Francisco is a city of reinventions. It rebuilt after the 1906 earthquake and fire, one of the most catastrophic urban disasters in American history. It rebuilt again, culturally, in the 1960s, when it became the epicenter of a counterculture that reshaped music, politics, and how a generation thought about themselves. It reinvented itself again in the 1990s and 2000s when a new kind of gold rush arrived. Venture capital, startups, the internet economy. The city filled with young engineers in the same way it had once filled with young miners. The same energy, the same imbalance of supply and dream. And here is where the documentary earns its name. San Francisco has one of the most visible homelessness crises of any American city. The reasons are not simple. A housing market that has, over decades, become one of the most expensive on Earth. A tech economy that generated enormous wealth in a city geographically constrained by water on 3 sides. policy debates that have run for 30 years without consensus. If you walk certain blocks of the Tenderloin or along parts of the city at night, the beauty and the burden are not separated by miles. They share a pavement. And then there's the ground itself. San Francisco sits near the boundary of two tectonic plates, the Pacific and the North American. The San Andreas Fault runs the length of the state. In 1906, it ruptured. The city burned. 3,000 people died. The geologists will tell you that another major earthquake is not a question of if. It is a question of when. And yet, every year, more people move here. That tells you something essential about the human relationship with California. The risk is priced in. The beauty is considered worth it. Whether you agree with that calculation is perhaps the central question of this entire documentary. There are roads that take you somewhere. And then there is Highway 1. Highway 1 does not take you somewhere. It is the somewhere. 655 miles along the California coast, from Dana Point in the south to Leggett in the north. Fog in the morning, wind off the Pacific all day. Sunsets so saturated, you'll assume your phone is doing something to the photo. The most dramatic section is Big Sur, roughly 90 miles where the Santa Lucia Mountains fall almost directly into the Pacific. The road is carved into the side of those mountains. In places, there is a guardrail between your car and a several hundred-foot drop to the ocean. It is genuinely dangerous. California's highway management deals with regular closures here due to landslides, erosion, and storm damage. In January 2026, a stretch reopened after a major slide repair that had kept the road closed for months. Check conditions before you drive it. The road is worth the planning, but it rewards respect. Bixby Bridge is the image most people have when they think of Highway 1. A single-arch concrete bridge spanning a canyon above the ocean, built in 1932, photographed approximately 10 million times since. Standing on the bridge and looking south, you see the canyon, the surf, the highway disappearing into a hillside. It looks like a painting that someone decided to make real. Highway 1 has a tempo. You can't drive it quickly. The curves won't allow it. And after about an hour, something happens to your thinking. The urgency drains out. You stop checking your phone. The next curve is the only thing that matters. That is a gift California gives freely. If you slow down enough to take it. Los Angeles is not a city. It is a claim that possibility is real. That who you were before you arrived here doesn't have to be who you are after. Nearly 4 million people live in the city proper, over 13 million in the greater metropolitan area. It is the second largest city in the United States, and it operates less like a city and more like 10 cities that agreed at some point to share a freeway system. Each neighborhood is essentially its own culture. Silver Lake and its coffee shops, Koreatown and its late-night energy, Boyle Heights and its murals, Malibu and its calculated quietness, Compton and its history, far more complex than its reputation. But everyone knows what Los Angeles built its identity on: Hollywood. The Hollywood sign started as a real estate advertisement in 1923. It said Hollywoodland, promoting a new housing development in the hills. The land was removed in 1949. What remained was something that no one planned, a 9-letter word that became the world's shorthand for ambition. California grows more almonds, more grapes, more strawberries, more pistachios, more walnuts than any other state in America. It is, by production volume, a global agricultural power, not just a national one. And in Los Angeles, that agricultural reality becomes culinary culture. The farmers' markets here are not boutique experiences. They are the supply chain made visible. The gap between field and table is, in some cases, measured in hours. Disneyland opened in Anaheim, just outside Los Angeles, on July 17, 1955. Walt Disney's idea was literally to build a place where stories could be physically entered. And at that concept, the belief that imagination, if engineered carefully enough, can become experience, is the most Los Angeles idea that has ever been executed. And now, the reality we cannot ignore. Los Angeles is one of the most expensive housing markets in the United States. The median home price has, for years, been multiple times the national median. Renters in many neighborhoods pay for the privilege of proximity to a dream they may never access. The freeway system, 527 miles of it, was built for a city that assumed everyone would have a car. Many Angelenos do not. For them, distance is not scenic. It is the structural inequality of a city that decided to optimize for one kind of movement. And the homelessness crisis here is the largest in any American city, and over 75,000 people were counted without permanent housing in Los Angeles County in recent surveys. The causes are systemic: housing affordability, mental health infrastructure, economic displacement. The solutions being tried are real, partial, contested, and slow. The conclusion is not that Los Angeles is broken. It is that Los Angeles is unresolved. It contains the highest expression of American aspiration and some of its deepest failures, in the same geography, under the same sky. That is not a reason to dismiss it. It may be the strongest reason to understand it. The desert doesn't ask you anything. It just waits. Death Valley is the hottest, driest, lowest place in North America. The National Park Service has recorded air temperatures here exceeding 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground temperatures higher still. Badwater Basin, at 282 feet below sea level, holds the record for the lowest point on the continent. The name came from a surveyor who found the water undrinkable, too saline for his mule. He wrote Badwater on his map, and it stuck. And yet, Death Valley is full of life. Specialized, extreme, tenacious life. The pupfish, a tiny fish found only in a single spring in the valley floor, has survived here for 10,000 years since the Pleistocene glaciers retreated and left it isolated. It lives in water that would kill most freshwater fish. It has adapted so specifically to this one place that it exists nowhere else on Earth. That is what the desert teaches you, if you stay long enough. Nothing is as hostile as it looks. Something always finds a way. 2 hours east of Los Angeles, Joshua Tree National Park sits at the meeting point of two distinct deserts: the higher Mojave Desert where the Joshua trees grow, and the lower Colorado Desert, where they don't. The park's boundary essentially marks the transition between them, a biological and geological threshold you can walk across in minutes. Joshua trees are not trees. They are a species of yucca, related to agave, not oak. They grow 1 to 3 inches per year. A large Joshua tree may be 500 years old. When you stand next to one, you are standing next to something that was alive before the United States was a concept. The Joshua tree has become, in the last decade, one of the most visited national parks in America. The rock formations, enormous boulders stacked by geological accident into shapes that suggest construction, draw climbers from around the world. And the night sky here is among the darkest accessible to most Americans. On a clear night, the Milky Way is not a concept, it is a visual event. There is a specific emotion that the desert produces that has no clean name in English. A kind of quiet that goes all the way down, where you stop performing for anyone, including yourself. The desert is not for everyone, but for the people it is for. It is the most necessary place in California. There are places so famous, you think you already know them. And then you arrive, and your body understands what your screen never could. Yosemite Valley is a glacially carved granite canyon. The ice that carved it, a kilometer thick in places, melted around 10,000 years ago. What it left behind are walls of granite, so sheer and so high that they function like architecture. El Capitan rises 3,000 feet from the valley floor. That's almost twice the height of the Empire State Building. Free climbers, people using only their hands and feet and no safety ropes, have been ascending it for decades. The first successful free solo ascent by Alex Honnold in 2017 took 3 hours and 56 minutes. Half Dome, at the eastern end of the valley, is exactly what it sounds like. A granite dome that appears to have been sliced cleanly in half. And it hasn't. The vertical face was formed by glacial exfoliation. But the result is one of the most recognizable geological formations on Earth. Yosemite covers nearly 1,200 square miles of mountainous terrain. It has been protected federal land since 1864, when Abraham Lincoln, in the middle of the Civil War, found time to sign a bill preserving it. That decision, made in crisis, is one of the better ones American governance has managed. Now, the practical truth that every documentary should tell you. Yosemite is very popular. In recent years, visitor numbers have pressed against the valley's capacity. As of early 2026, the National Park Service announced it will not require timed entry reservations for Yosemite in 2026. That does not mean no planning. It means arrive early. Come on weekdays, come in shoulder season, May to late September, October. The park is different, not diminished, in every season. The real thing to tell you about Yosemite is this. It has been looked at so many times that people worry it has been reduced to a checklist. Tunnel view photo, half dome permit, Mirror Lake reflection. But the park is 1,200 square miles. Most of that is backcountry that 95% of visitors never enter. The bears, the meadows, the waterfalls that have no name in the brochure, those are all still there, waiting for the people willing to walk a little further from the road. And when you leave Yosemite, when the valley disappears in your rearview mirror, something has changed. You feel appropriately small, and that surprisingly feels like relief. Coast redwoods are the tallest trees on Earth. The tallest known individual stands over 380 feet high, nearly as tall as a 38-story building. It has a name, Hyperion, and its exact location is kept secret to protect it from the damage that human curiosity causes. Some of these trees are over 2,000 years old. When the oldest living redwoods germinated, the Roman Empire was still standing. The printing press was 1,000 years in the future. The continent we now call North America had not been reached by European explorers. They have been standing here in this fog, absorbing carbon from the air, growing incrementally upward for 2 millennia. Redwood National and State Parks protect a significant portion of the remaining old-growth redwood forests. The key word is remaining. Before commercial logging began in the 19th century, the redwood forests covered an estimated 2 million acres of California's coast. Today, old-growth redwood forest covers roughly 5% of that original range. The trees that survived did so because people fought for them. The establishment of Redwood National Park in 1968 and its expansion in 1978 followed decades of activism that pitted timber economics against ecological irreplaceability. Standing in an old-growth redwood forest, you experience something that is genuinely difficult to communicate. A sense of time so different from your own that it recontextualizes everything you believe is urgent. Your career, your anxieties, the news cycle, the argument you had last week. The trees were here before all of it. They will, if we let them, be here after. That is a gift worth protecting. On April 1, 2026, California's Department of Water Resources measured the Sierra Nevada snowpack. Snowpack is critical. In a normal year, the Sierra snowpack provides roughly 30% of California's annual water supply. It accumulates through winter and releases slowly as it melts in spring and early summer, a natural reservoir that the state's agriculture and cities depend on. 18% of average. That number is not a weather anomaly. It is part of a pattern that California's water managers, farmers, and urban planners are all trying to adapt to, simultaneously without a consensus plan, in a state that has never had enough water for the scale of its ambitions. California's water system is one of the most complex pieces of hydraulic infrastructure ever built. Water moves from the wet north to the dry south, from snowmelt to tap, cons aqueducts, pumping stations, reservoirs, and treatment plants that stretch across 800 miles of geography. It is a miracle of engineering, and it was designed for a climate that is no longer reliable. Now, fire. Wildfire is not new to California. It is part of the ecological cycle that built the chaparral landscapes, the oak woodlands, the pine forests. Indigenous Californians used fire deliberately to manage land for thousands of years. What is new is the scale, the frequency, and the reach. In 2020, California burned more than 4 million acres, more than any year in recorded history. The seasons are longer. The fires are more intense. The recovery time between major events is compressing. The causes are not mysterious. Higher temperatures dry out vegetation faster. Drought conditions extend further into the year. New development has pushed into fire-prone landscapes. A century of fire suppression created fuel accumulations that now burn with historic intensity. None of this means California is dying. It means California is changing, faster than comfortable, with consequences that fall hardest on the people with the fewest resources to adapt. The people managing these crises, the hydrologists, the fire ecologists, the land managers, the farmers experimenting with drought-resistant crops, are not panicking. They are working. That is worth knowing. California has, historically, been good at making hard things work. The question of whether that track record holds for climate adaptation is genuinely open. We started this documentary with a claim that California is a contradiction. Let's count them. Most visited state, most water-stressed, largest economy, largest homeless population, tallest trees, lowest land, dream factory, fault line. Every one of those contradictions is real. None of them is the whole story. California has always attracted people who needed a place that wasn't where they came from. The miners of 1848, the Dust Bowl families of the 1930s, the LGBTQ communities who found safety in San Francisco in the 1970s, the immigrant families from every continent who built their lives in LA and the Central Valley and the Bay Area. They came because California offered something psychologically specific, a possibility that your history didn't have to determine your future. That offer is imperfect. It has never been equally available to everyone.
No justice! No justice!
The dream of California has been withheld, systematically, legally, violently, from communities who deserved it as much as anyone. But the offer persists, and people keep taking it. Visit California's most recent forecast projects 276 million visits to the state in 2026. 276 million individual decisions to come here, to spend money here, to bring their curiosity here. That is not the behavior of a place people have given up on. California will outlast our narratives about it. It will be messier than the tourism boards want and more beautiful than the crisis headlines allow. It will burn. It will dry out. It will rebuild. It will surprise you. And if you go, and you should go, bring the version of yourself that can be astonished, because California is still very good at that. One last fact, because this channel believes in leaving you with something real. California's coastline is 840 miles long. It has never been fully documented. There are coves, beaches, tide pools, and cliffs that have no names in any guidebook. They are simply there, waiting for someone with the time and the curiosity to find them. That feels like a good note to end on. If this documentary gave you something, share it with someone who needs a long watch. Subscribe so you get the next one. And if you have a place you want us to cover, leave it in the comments. We'll see you on the road.